This video I will show you 10 of the most talented, promising young central midfielders. And for this video I focus on players that are 20 years or younger. And there's actually a lot of very good promising youngsters in this position in FM22. So it was a tough job to scale it down to only 10 players. Make sure to do some scouting yourself to see what you can find out. Talking about scouting, there's always a little bit RNG involved when it comes to youngsters in FM22, so make sure to check them out yourself, because their potential ability will vary a bit from save to save. But first off, we have a name that you probably recognize if you've been playing previous versions of FM. Ryan Gravenberch, playing for Ajax, has been one of the most talented, promising young central midfielders for a few versions of this game right now. And he still is in FM22. Looking at his history, he did his debut for Ajax all the way back in the 2018-2019 season. And last season was the first season that he was like a really regular starter. And he's already picked up 7 caps at only 19 years old. Next, we are heading to Italy, where we find Samuele Ricci playing for Empoli, 19-year-old Italian. And another one of those very promising midfielders. He can also play as a defensive midfielder if you want to. And it's kind of funny when you look at the attributes important for this role as the advanced playmaker. Like everything is like a match for this youngster has his strengths right now. And of course, he will become even better in the future. Next up, we have the only Englishman on this list. And it's Alfie Devine, belonging to Tottenham. And compared to the previous players we've been watching, this lad is only 16. And these stats at 16 are fantastic, especially his physical and mental attributes. They're just insane. And hopefully, during the next few years, when he gets some max experience and training, his technical abilities will increase. But these stats at 16, they're just mad. And he can play also as an attacking midfielder or as a defensive midfielder. Next, we are heading to Verona, where we find this 20-year-old Serbian midfielder, Ivan Ilić. And he's also a player that can play in multiple positions. And he's a player with so much green here, so much green, it's insane, so many good stats. And he's already picked up 2 caps for his national team. And looking at his history, he's been playing in Serie A for the last season. And before that, he actually belonged to Man City for a short while. Then was loaned out, and then they sold him. And before that, he'd been playing in the Netherlands for 1 season, Serbia. So, I mean, he got quite some experience here for only being 20 years old. And yeah, if you can get him, sign him. Next, we have a young Japanese player contracted to Real Madrid. So obviously, it's going to be tough to sign him. But Takuhiro Nakai is one of the most promising young players in Real Madrid right now. And as I said, for a previous player, looks at the stats, just matching his role as an advanced playmaker. Like, all his strengths are exactly the stats that you need for this role, while like all the weaker stats are stats not needed for the advanced playmaker role. So he looks fantastic. Of course, he will be struggling. Being in Real Madrid, it's going to be tough to get match time. So with a little bit of luck, maybe they're going to transfer list him, and then you're going to snatch him as soon as you can, because he has a lot of promise. And he's only 17 years old, remember that. Only 17. So in 3 years, all these stats will have gone up by a lot, and he's still just going to be 20 years old and have a few more years where he can develop. Next, we have the second 16-year-old on this list. And these stats, they are just insane. For a 16-year-old, these stats are better than most 20-year-olds have. So can you imagine him in 4 years when he is 20, how these stats will be looking if you manage to develop him well and he stayed injury-free? Clearly the potential to become the best central midfielder in the world. These stats, my gosh, I mean, they I don't even say more, they speak by themselves. But of course, he is belonging to Barcelona, so it's most likely going to be very tough to sign him. You just need to pray that the competition in Barcelona is really tough, so maybe get the transfer listed or something like that. Clearly a future world-class player. Next, we have a Hungarian player playing for Leipzig, Dominik Szoboszlai. Probably butchered that name, sorry for that, but look at these stats. They are just insane. Look at all these reds. 16, 16, 16, 16. And then we have a bunch of 15, 15, 15. 15. I mean, he looks sensational at just 20 years old. He can play in multiple positions. I see him as a central midfielder, but can also do a great job as an attacking midfielder or even as a winger. So yeah, very talented player. He's been around to quite a few clubs, but such a promising young player. Sign him if you can. And I lied before, I just realized, because I said the only Englishman on this list, because of course we have Jude Bellingham playing for Borussia Dortmund, 18 years old, and so much talk like what the English club will sign him in the future, but maybe this won't happen, because maybe he's happening at Borussia Dortmund, and he looks fantastic. And looking at his history, of course, he has been belonging to Borussia Dortmund now for 2 seasons, and last season he was a regular starter for Dortmund, even though he was just 17 years old. And we see quite a few red here, some sensational stats. Going to be extremely expensive, but clearly he's going to be a future world star. I mean, already he has 7 caps for England. Next, we are heading to Real Madrid, where we find this 18-year-old Frenchman, Eduardo Camavinga, and he already picked up caps for France at just 18. And the major problem with him is that he just joined Real Madrid. They clearly won't sell him, at least not the first season, and probably not for a long time, because he has the potential to become one of Real Madrid's best players in the future. But as always for the players belonging to the biggest clubs, they could be struggling for match time, they could get transfer listed because of that. Just keep your eyes out, and maybe, just maybe, you get lucky. Finally, we have the number 1 pick on my list. And we have this Leipzig player. He is Ghanaian, 18 years old, and he is sensational. And just a little small notice, he actually left Barcelona for just 16 mil for this season. I think Barcelona will end up regretting that. Look at these stats at 18, like, what were Barcelona thinking? Maybe they have some like buyback clause or something like that, but I mean, he should be very soon be able to challenge for a first team spot in Barcelona with these stats. I mean, there's not many clubs in the world that he wouldn't be starting already. Yeah, in my eyes, maybe the best central midfielder Football Manager 22 has to offer, but there is, as you know, a little bit of RNG involved with each save, how good they get, but this lad is just fantastic. And guys, a small little advice. Some of these players' names can be difficult to spell. So in the description for this video, I put all their names. You can just copy them from there and paste them straight into Football Manager. And if you found this video helpful, press that like button, because that helps me out. And did I miss any of your favorite central midfielders? As I said, it was a lot of them. I had to cut the list pretty hard. But make sure to mention them in the comment section below, because, I mean, share that knowledge. And if you're new here, subscribe to the channel for more FM22 content. Thank you for watching.